Tom Lombardi,
Here.
James Morelli,
Here.
Victoria Triano.
I am here. Could we stand for the prayer, please, followed by the flag salute?
All right, Mike, it's you.
That was easy. Improvise, please.
It's a summer meeting. Yes. Heavenly Father, open our eyes this evening to the truth and reality of every situation that we encounter. Give us solutions that are the best for our community now and in the future. Keep your hand upon Southington and continue to make her great. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. May I have a motion on the minutes, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Very good. Can I have a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Tom. We have all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Oh, there were two. That's right. Vacation boys here. So, okay, very good. Number 3, councilperson's communication. Before we get into all of that, I would like to invite, last meeting, we talked about how the Southington Police Department will be conducting a polling of the residents and get some information on safety and the general feeling in our town so that we can go forward in the hopes of contacting the governor's office. There is an individual that works with the governor that the chief who is with us this evening is hoping to set up a meeting with, and we hope to do that probably at the end of August. Is that correct, Chief? Is that about right? So I want to just ask you, Chief, is there anything else you would like to add to this and give maybe just a quick overview? Remember that you have to speak loud enough so that we can all hear you, though.
From the podium, Chief.
Our plan was we're going to submit a survey out on SurveyMonkey. It's going to be approved this Thursday by the Board of Police Commissioners if we need any tweaks in it. The plan is to run it in SurveyMonkey for a couple weeks, get the feedback from the community, see what they think, how we're doing, and how we can better serve the community. When we get that information about their safety, their feelings of it, we would like to the police department and would like to meet with person from OPM who's head of their criminal justice division who has a direct line to the state. And just explain how the town and its citizens feel about their safety. So that's a quick synopsis.
So right now, it's going to the Board of Police Commission for their approval?
Yep,
Oh,
this
that's great.
Thursday.
Very good. All right, so I just wanted to, if anyone has any specific questions, I mean, obviously, it's still in the planning stage, it's still just being put together and going out. But if anybody on the council has a question, please feel free. Go ahead, Chris.
Not a question, but just a suggestion, if we can use our Everbridge system to maybe make phone calls to, robocall to all our residents, to alert them, maybe put it on the town website. That way there we encourage participation. You know, people may not know until you.
We did not talk about Everbridge, we did talk about the putting it
Town
on-
website, the
Yeah.
police department website, Facebook.
People may not know to check, you know what I mean? At
Yeah.
least if you do that, then you're directly hitting the people that you want to survey, which is our residents, so.
Very good. Anyone else?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Jack?
Also, I obviously, you know, it's not approved by anybody, but I did a survey through SurveyMonkey, which I wouldn't mind sharing, you know, what the answers and the questions were. I think there was about 400 residents. So again, if the chief wants it, I don't mind sharing it with the police commission as well. I don't remember all the details, but again, it was about, I think, 400 participants from Southington, and it was on school and community safety. So again, it's not approved by the commission by any means, but again, I don't think it would hurt by looking at it and
Yep, if you
seeing
could send
what-
it to me.
Yeah,
Very
most
good. Thank
definitely.
you, Jack. Anybody else? Chief, is there anything else you want to add?
for that, no.
No, okay, very good. Thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate it. Deputy Chief, do you want to give your presentation now? Or do you want to wait?
actually under the town manager.
Yes, I saw that, but I wasn't sure if you wanted it during the town manager's report. Does he want to do it now? Would you rather have it during your report?
If they want to leave early, that's fine.
That's all right, then let's just, okay, very good. What? Yeah,
You brought your own lawyer with you?
or?
yes.
Can never be so too safe. You didn't speak into the mic, sorry. Mark.
Billy, is that on?
It's up
Yep.
and running, yeah.
The screen is.
Uh-oh.
Jay was working on it today, there was a problem.
It'll be much faster without the slides.
I'm not the IT guy. I'll start talking. If it gets working, that's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to give you an overview of the automatic license plate readers. We have Attorney Riccardone here and Mr. Palmieri, who have been working on this project jointly for several months. The attorney will talk about privacy and protection and answer any questions you have, the community benefits of an ALPR system, and then there'll be time for feedback and questions if you have any. Next slide shows where we are. For 2023, year-to-date, which is from January to July, we're already at 61 stolen vehicles. For all of last year, we had 62. So we're a little bit ahead of where we had been. And as far as vehicle burglaries, we're already at 142 compared to 163 for all of last year. On the bottom, you'll see the IACP reports approximately 70% of crime involves the use of a vehicle. So all the crimes that we're dealing with, people are using vehicles to commit them. What this license plate system will do is we consider another tool in the officer's tool belt. Help them do their job better. It's not clearly a replacement for officers. So I just wanted to make that clear. We're not asking for this system in lieu of officers. We still need officers. Okay?
So, an overview of an ALPR system. It's a high-speed camera system that can quickly capture photographs of license plates, numbers, and capture their location at specific dates and time. It allows us to have real-time alerts to not only to dispatch, but also to the officers' MDTs. It gathers objective and unbiased evidence and facts about vehicles. So visual evidence such as vehicle make, type, and color, license plates, missing plates, covered plates, state of license plates, unique features like roof racks, bumper stickers, window stickers, and then it also gathers what we call contextual evidence, which is time-stamped when it was inside our town, the number of times the vehicle had been seen in the last 30 days, and any other associated vehicles with that plate. So on the right-hand side, basically all that is, that shows you that if you look at the license plate, it gives you the license plate to make was a Toyota, it was color gray, it was last seen at 3:15 p.m., and then it was seen 3 times in this community over the last 30 days. So that's some of the things that the system can do. It makes us proactive with real-time alerts. when stolen or wanted vehicles enter our community. From an investigative standpoint, our incident clearance rates will increase and our crime rates will decrease. Every police department that has used ALPR systems have shown a reduction in the crime rate. It also moves us from a silo-type data system to a dynamic information sharing network from both an internal and external perspective. It allows us to also utilize other agencies that have the system to get their data, making us more efficient and better to serve the community. Pre-incident response, having information before a crime has been committed and the ability to adjust our patrol strategies and responses to the most current information, that's something we don't have now. We're really reactive now when we're looking at a lot of these crimes. And the LPR system clearly acts as a deterrent. Protection and privacy?
So this isn't really a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Every town and municipality in the state is moving to this. Some that we didn't even know about 2 days ago are coming in. Avon, as I believe someone said the last meeting, Cheshire was just here. It's almost the more, and it's all shared information if you want to share it, so it's a web. So the more towns opt in, the more powerful the network is itself. So one of the things that every town comes across is privacy. I'm a big believer in the Constitution, and everybody worries that this is big government, Orwellian, surveillance. Well, we're already doing this. We've been doing this for, how long have we had the car plate readers? 10 years. We've been doing this for 10 years. If you see the plate, the cameras on a couple of the cruisers in town, they're driving down the street, they're scanning every single plate. So this is just adding the number of cameras and putting them in a fixed position. We own the data, so the camera system company does not own the data. It's our data, and it's not shared, it's not sold, nobody has it, and we can cut it off. So if we do want to share with Cheshire, we can. If we don't want to share the next day, we can stop. That data stays in our little silo. We choose how we want to share it, and it's automatically deleted after 30 days. And people will say, well, how do I trust 30 days? Why would it be 30 days? Well, we have to pay for that data retention. Data retention is extremely expensive. The camera company doesn't want to support us keeping it 60, 90 days. In fact, if Connecticut requires us to keep it longer, they're going to come back and ask for a renegotiation of the contract, because the contract provides for 30 days because that's what the state requires. But if it does change down the road, we may have to go farther out. And the big one is there's zero bias. It's a camera. So it doesn't know if anybody's in the car. It could be a self-driving Tesla. It can't tell the difference if there's somebody in the front seat or the back seat. It can't tell if there's 4 people, 5 people, doesn't know what color skin they are, doesn't know their gender, doesn't know their race, it knows nothing. All it knows is type of car, attributes of the car, bumper sticker, license plate, missing license plate, that's the big one, right? So it takes away the whole bias for the police department for the actual initial screening. The bigger part is there's always a second part to it. So just because the camera pings it, it doesn't mean dispatch is going to send somebody right away. It actually sends the feed to dispatch or another officer, and that officer is going to verify that that plate is actually accurate, it all makes sense. They're not just going to go start pulling people over based upon a computer program. So there's always going to be another human element to say before they send it over the radio. Big one, I know there's a lot of questions. I think 4 of you have called me in the last week. What about traffic tickets and red light cameras? Doesn't support it. The company itself doesn't support it. They don't even have the ability to implement it at this time. I know that's a conversation that I believe you asked the chief about several months back. If the council wants to go in that direction, it would be a whole new process, a whole nother set of another vendor, et cetera. So no infringement whatsoever. It also doesn't check for there's no DMV connection, so we're not policing unregistered minor violations. So if your plate is unregistered, nobody knows. It's not like we're trying to pinch people for just having an expired registration. It doesn't even have the data. It's not hooked up to the DMV. And the privacy portal, it's a big one. So if you're in the audience or if you're on the dais, you can Google Flock privacy portal, Google Warwick, Google anything, it'll pop up. And we have the ability to show to the public what we do, how many cameras we have, how many pings we've had, and what kind of searches have been done. So I know a few months back, there was an incident where a police officer was running somebody's car in a parking lot because they were interested in that person. They wanted to know where they lived. Well, this has an audit trail built in, so the police commission, the chief, the deputy chief can actually go and review. And there's a keystroke log, there's no deletion, the data stays there. That audit data stays there forever. The picture, the data goes away, but the audit trail stays there. So anytime Chief Daly goes and searches for somebody, that doesn't go away ever. And you can actually post that publicly if you want to. But that would be a police commission, town council decision, police department decision. So that's how transparent the system is. That's all I have for privacy unless there's any questions.
Anyone have any questions of Attorney Riccadono?
Madam Chair, I do have a question.
Yes, please.
Alex, maybe you can answer this. You had said that after 30 days, the footage gets deleted.
Correct.
But the information stays. In other words, if there's a car that's a suspect in either burglary or something, and we have valuable information on that car, and it was in Southington 3 days throughout the month, how do we retain that information to use it for investigations to ensure? I mean, could we save the footage then because it's part of an active investigation, or does it automatically get deleted after 30 days?
So data that's captured and not used and not pinged, there's no ping on it, so if you're driving down Queen Street and they scan your plate and it doesn't ping stolen car, Amber Alert, nothing, after 30 days, that's destroyed. If someone searches for you, I'm looking for Mike Del Santo's car, that stays forever. But if if you got caught if you stole from Walmart and they searched for your plate and they found you, that data stays and it's treated the same way, I believe, and the deputy chief can correct me if I'm wrong, it's retained the same way as any other video or evidence would be retained for a criminal investigation.
Thank you. Very
Yep.
well. Thank
And there's a copy of the audit trail that could be shared publicly. The data is masked for the officers, so the officers' names aren't there. But it just shows you, line by line, what camera was pinged, who searched for it, and you have to input a case number or a reason. It's a BOLO, we're on a lookout, we're in an Amber Alert. And that's one thing I think the chief's gonna talk about is, we're talking about crime, but this also is for Amber Alerts and for
Missing
Silver
persons.
Alerts. It's a huge, huge benefit. Just if you get one person in 10 years off an Amber Alert, it's worth it.
Yeah,
Just to
Chris, go
follow
ahead.
Mike's question,
Sure.
because I have a similar question. Can you go back a couple slides? Keep going. Again, further back. Okay, right there. So looking at that where it says last visit and seen 3 of 30 days, we may not be searching specifically for that plate because we don't know, the crime hasn't been committed yet, but now maybe that vehicle is involved in a crime in a neighborhood. Is that data retained beyond the 30 days where, where it says seen 3 of 30 days, or no?
If it was just a vehicle going through that wasn't picked up, it would be deleted after 30 days.
30 days, okay.
But
And that's why it's 30 days. It's not
Yeah.
45 days. 'Cause
Yeah.
it only goes back 30 days.
See, I, from what you were saying, I was thinking it's a data storage issue, meaning video is a lot more to store than an Excel file listing the license plate, you know what I mean?
In Flock, the company is very sensitive to privacy, so they're saying that, and if you look at a lot of the crimes that involve vehicles or even our stolen vehicles, it's the same car that's visiting community after community, so it's going to be in that database. What they're doing is if there's no crime associated, it's gone after 30 days. That's to protect the citizen and the privacy.
Okay.
So part of the hard code is we have, like Attorney Riccadono said about no DMV connection, but we have the National Criminal Information Center, which is NCIC alerts, and this is nationwide. So you have protective orders, protective interests, violent persons, missing persons, warrants, sex offenders, extreme risk protection orders, NCMEC, which is missing and exploited children, Amber Alert, missing children, gang or suspect terrorist information. So if information is put into this national database, Flock already has it. So we would be able to, if something came through our town that was hit on this national database, we would be made aware of it. So the community, yes, Paul.
I'm sorry, if you can just go back. Just to be clear, though, because it might not be clear for the person looking at this slide, this says violent person or missing person, but I think what's meant to say is that if they are driving a vehicle and that vehicle is picked up, right? It's not picking up the person.
Right.
It's picking up the vehicle
Right.
that person could
Right.
be associated with.
Right, and this is the way NCIC puts their parameters in, so it has to key off a vehicle or a characteristic thereof. So community benefits, Yes, we were all talking about stolen motor vehicles, vehicles to burglaries, but Amber Alerts, missing people, wanted vehicles, persons of interest. It creates a community security information network that's timely, accurate, automatic, direct, and fluid. And it's the police response that's based on real-time, real information and live updates. So let's say we go to a purse snatching, and we know it's a green Jeep with a main plate or whatever, such and such. Now our officers can put that right into the system, and we get that out, and all the flock systems are starting to look in town. There are also, any other flock customer would be looking for too. So this is an ability that we don't have now. We go and there's a child that's missing. Oh, I believe the girl got into a green Chevy Ford with a bike rack on back. We can now tell flock, start searching for every green Ford pickup with a bike rack, because that goes back to the unique features. So you know how sometimes you see the bike racks that block the plate? Well, Flock's AI can actually scan for this. And as the technology gets smarter, there's other things it'll be able to do. It can key off of bumper stickers. It can key off of windshield stickers, no plates versus plates and stuff like that. So not only do we have the stolen car benefit, we also have the ability to get real-time information on other crimes out into our officers' hands, so we can start looking at it and the systems work. So that's something we don't have right now. Proactive versus reactive. Many times, a community member is victimized and the police respond after the fact. An APL, our system, can alert police that the stolen vehicle has entered our town, and this puts us in a proactive response mode rather than a reactive response mode. So just for a minute, I'd like to take you through. Picture that we've now created in Southington this network of cameras, and we have a stolen or wanted vehicle that enters our town. Hasn't committed a crime yet. Flock now picks it up, okay? They identify it as a hot sheet vehicle. Dispatch gets notified. All the MTDs and our field officers get notified. They confirm it through NCIC and collect it. It's a wanted vehicle. Now we can start to move our resources into those areas where it's seen. As it goes through our town, more cameras will pick up on it and update the location. So we have the ability now to get out in front of this, rather than finding out that the vehicle, like a certain neighborhood, was hit, and we don't find out till morning. We don't have that. That's what makes this system absolutely outstanding. It allows us to be proactive. We can talk about, can we pursue, can we not pursue? This helps us investigate, because even after the fact, if we can make the vehicles and the people who come into our town uncomfortable because we're moving resources in there, then that's a home run ball for all of us. So that really is, I think, one of the most strongest reasons to go to this system, because it makes us a proactive community. What I did, the chief and I, we put down some success stories that we got from Connecticut towns. Groton Police, they had, just the other day, they had 2 people come through out of Dakota. They had counterfeit warrants. It was inside NCIC. They got a flock hit, pulled the car over, made the arrests. They're now on their way to South Dakota. West Hartford has had flock since 2022. Flock provided us with, they do a very good job of detailing their success stories. They've had 44 success stories, so we just put 3 there. One is an agency filed a search warrant with a gun. They were looking for an unknown main plate, was broadcasted. West Hartford was able to look at their flock information and find out it was a mass plate. They were able to correct the information and provide the agency with the proper license plate. Another one was a shoplifter, the vehicle for shoplifting from an Ace Hardware store. They were able to get images of the vehicle and the plate. Another one, this goes back almost to your Amber Alert. Neighborhood agency was disseminating photos of a vehicle connected to a missing juvenile, which was possibly endangered. Searched the flock database, the vehicle description, and they were able to find the vehicle and provide clear images of the license plate to a neighboring agency. So this is the value of the technology. And we would like to thank you for the opportunity, and we'll entertain any questions.
Okay, one at a time. Okay, so Val, why don't we start with you? Okay, we'll just go right down.
Thank you. So Bill, just a couple questions on with the FLAC. That's the vendor.
That's correct.
Now, do the other towns use FLAC, or do they use different?
We have 17 in the report you
That's what I
provided. Corporate counsel found several more. And Flock integrates with our Axon, and they also they do not sell the information to the public. So it's our information. Other vendors sell it, and that can create, if you Google it, that's creating some nightmares across the United States. FLAC is very type A about their privacy. They also have a sole source white paper, which makes them, our vendor, and the fact that they link with our LPRs, which are our new license plate readers and our dash cameras, it's just a good fit. It's seamless, we can store the same evidence, and it just works, so.
So the other, I guess my question is if a town isn't using FLAC, if they're using a different vendor, can you still get the information?
Absolutely. A good example is like Hartford, the city of Hartford. They have one of the most robust camera systems. They've had it for years. So they actually have agreements with other surrounding areas like West Hartford to share their FLAC data so they can do it. So yes, we can share openly with other communities that have different
And
systems.
we would do that?
And
To
yes,
make
we,
sure that
yep.
we're everybody's. And the other question I have is, I know in the report, it kind of talked about, depending on which package that we approve, the coverage area. Like that, there must be different coverage,
Right.
like how much of the town is covered.
So our recommendation, talking with Chief Daly and
Is the-
Attorney Riccadonna, is we'd like to see, at a minimum, the 22 camera deployment. And what FLAC does is FLAC has their experts look at it. And then they come up with a basic deployment plan. And then the chief is going to sit down with a diverse group of our employees and go over to look at where their deployment and look at our data to kind of move things around. So it's going to be a collaborative thing. We'll talk with the police commission to set up, but we're not going to publish our deployment strategy because that's for safety. Like I said, we all discussed, we'd like to see at a minimum the 22 camera deployment.
Because that's going to give us.
Yeah, it's going to give us the best
More-
coverage
more
and.
coverage.
Like I explained, the things that make Southington great, the access to all our
highways.
highways and everything, make our job
Right.
a lot harder. That's why we're requesting the 22 cameras.
And is it difficult to change the deployment areas? Like if you say, if you find over time that you might need to have it in a different area?
We can move the
Move the
deployment,
cameras.
but our goal would be to do our due diligence up front, and if anything, expand it.
Expand it, okay.
And that's kind of the vision that we've had, because, again, FLAC has their experts, we're going to look at our data, and we're going to come up with, again, because we looked at it, and the chief and Alex found a couple of places, like, geez, there doesn't seem to be a camera here. And when we looked at it, we're like, there isn't, so let's talk to everybody and go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Chris?
First of all, I want to thank the three of you, and thank you, actually. I brought this up at the last meeting, asked you to put it on the agenda, so I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate the three of you quickly turning around the presentation for the council. A couple questions. First one is, one of the reasons that I brought it up in the first place is because our neighbor community, Cheshire, has just recently, they're probably a couple months ahead of us, implemented this. So have any of you been able to touch base with the Cheshire Department and find out how their rollout has been going?
I reached out to Cheshire last week, and they're still finishing their rollout, because it's about a 6 to 8 to 10 week process, so they haven't fully got up and running yet.
Okay. But no hitches as
Nope,
far
no
as you knew
hitches.
okay. So next is cost. Obviously, the 22 camera system you mentioned, which is an annual cost of $66,000. I also know I spoke to the corporate counsel. I know you're trying to find some funding and whatnot, possibly through grants. But even if we can't find funding through grants, do we have this funding within, and maybe it's to the manager, but
Chief and I have already talked, but Chief can comment on this one, if you wish.
within the police department budget?
Absolutely not. We do have an E911 subsidy that we get for our dispatch system. We would like to use that subsidy towards the system.
And how much is that? How much do you get from
We
that
get
subsidy?
100.
19 a quarter, I believe.
Yeah, 19 a quarter. so
Yeah, 19 a quarter.
19,000 a quarter, yep.
Okay. And
That's-
what is the?
That's what I was leaning toward.
So what is that money used for now? Because obviously.
It just actually goes into the GF
So
to offset police costs. Right now, it's used to offset police.
kind of a no-brainer. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone here.
Well, that's why
but if have
well, if you would, let me and the chief figure out the cost of it. We need you to approve of it, and then let me figure out the cost, because I was thinking of using the grant, but I want to make sure
talk with the chief, and I want to talk with the finance director to make sure, I don't use the grant, what's it being used for? I know it's going to the GF, but I want to make sure how he budgeted it, so that's where I plan on using it, assuming it goes forward tonight.
Realistically, all you have to do is approve it and get Mark to open his purse strings. And
Okay.
we'll figure out where it comes from,
Okay.
but
And Alex, if I can direct to you, just because through our phone conversation, I think it's important to share with the council. You shared some testimony from other departments, how they've said that this system has truly updated their
No,
policing.
the word was revolutionized.
Okay.
I actually, because I wasn't that, I didn't think it could be that big of a deal. The police chief literally pulled me aside and said, Alex, this has revolutionized the way we police. It's changed everything. We are like getting so many hits, we can't even keep up with them sometimes. So it's making them busier, but in a good way.
Right, that's excellent, and I know we've all, for 2 or more years, we've all shared the concern about keeping our community safe, especially with vehicles, so this could be a great way, a tool, to your point, chief. I know it's not officers, but it's a tool to your toolkit.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I'm going to go to Con,
Yes,
please.
thank you, Madam Chair. Councilwoman DiPaolo did address the question that I was interested in as well, and that is the Flock software system. I want to make sure that that integrates with other software systems around the state, and I think that answer was portrayed to us. The other, logistical question that I had was that you mentioned that the data is owned by Southington Police Department. So how would the police department, and you don't have to share this if you don't like, but how would they share the data in real time? If a car was coming through and another department called, would we have a designated officer that would, release that information real time? Or, do you understand that question?
The way the data sharing works is we would open up a portal, let's say we shared with Cheshire.
Right.
So if we have a crime, Cheshire could actually search our data for 30 days, and then once it's deleted, it's gone. They can't copy it, they can't do anything like that.
But it's not like active, like a robbery just occurred in Cheshire 10 minutes ago. How do we get Cheshire's information and vice versa?
it's a prior agreement.
Right,
Open a
right,
portal.
because we're opening a portal. We can turn the portal on
So it
and
could
off.
become real time if it was needed.
It is real time, because what we're doing is we're saying we're gonna grant you access read-only to our system, so they would go in the Flock, it would be like Sullyton cameras, let's look at it and
Gotcha.
go from there.
That's
And
good.
again, that's all audit trailed and everything
Yep,
else.
gotcha. The other questions I had here was that the cost for the year one, my assumption is that wouldn't there be some sort of a one-time fee for installation and purchase of the cameras? Would we own the cameras, or would we be leasing the cameras within this dollar amount? Did we get that
We
information?
lease the cameras for 2 years.
Yep.
And then if we decide to, they will maintain the price for 4 years. So if we look at, it's $14,300 for installation
Yep.
for the first year. So that's where it's $80,300, and then it goes down to $66,000.
Gotcha.
And you just pay to maintain the cameras.
Okay, that's good to know. Lastly, I think that the document that's in front of us this evening is a great starting point for us. And I know there was talk about, expanding cameras and things of that nature. But I think that any change to the contract in front of us should come before the police commission and the town council for a vote. But in terms of what's in front of us tonight, I'm fully in favor of it, and I think it's a great tool for the police, not only our police department, but police departments around the state, because, working together is essential in what you guys do. So, thank you.
Paul, go ahead.
Can you tell, how long have you been looking into and investigating this Flock system?
We've probably been looking into it for over a year now. It came, the Board of Police Commissioners brought it up quite a while ago. We were looking at grants and how do we spend it, but we're at the point now where we reached out to a lot of our legislative partners, and there's not a lot of grant funding out there. And honestly, this is technology that we really should have.
What are the negatives that you're seeing so far? We've heard a lot of positives. What are some of the watch-outs or some of the issues that you've been seeing?
I don't think we have a negative. I think our negative we've turned into a positive, because we're going to be very upfront, very transparent, and I think that's what the citizens they want. They want to know. We want to explain to them that we want our citizens to stop getting victimized. We're not going to hide the data. We'll be very transparent. It's 30 days. It doesn't take any pictures of your face. It's not for motor vehicle enforcement. If you're in Southington and you're up to no good, Flock is going to tag you, and then we're going to investigate to you. So I guess some of the negatives could be, like, people may think that it's Big Brother and everything else, but we've really looked at it through collaboration with the Board of Police Commission and, corporate counsel. This really is, in 2023, we need this technology to serve our community members, because this isn't targeting the person that's going to the grocery store, obeying the law and everything else. This is targeting the people that are coming into our town at all hours of the day and disrupting our citizens' safety, and that just can't be tolerated anymore.
How about false positives? Have you seen examples of where there's false positives, where the AI is seeing something incorrectly, so, you might inconvenience or identify the wrong vehicle and possibly the wrong person who's in that vehicle because the software had a false positive on something? Do you have any examples of that?
As far as the false positives, we could get back to you. Flock eliminates the false positives to a certain degree because it's always check and then recheck. Like, once the alarm goes off, we will confirm it that, yes, this is the vehicle stolen. And again, if we know it's a green vehicle, a green pickup truck with a bike rack, we're going to see a photo. The officer's going to see, yes, it is green, yes, it has a bike rack, they'll be able to see the vehicle. So, again, that's how we're going to handle the approach and stuff like that. And again, if the officer's honest and upfront, which they are with the people, explain to them what's going on. Nothing is perfect. I think, though, Flock does a good job of eliminating your false positives because it's always, hit, alert, confirm, and then take action.
Just my own personal opinion is I don't like it. I think this is a product of. I think the chief actually said it in the budget meetings. We need better laws in Connecticut for some of these crimes that are happening with automobiles and automobile thefts. We're put in this position because our majority in the legislature is not enacting laws. They're making laws easier for criminals like these to commit these crimes and to get away. And they're pushing the responsibility to the municipalities to spend this money to defend ourselves. And I think that's a shame. I really do. I think we shouldn't have to do this. It's good that the technology's out there. My initial reaction is I do have concern about the privacy. I'm comfortable with what you've presented, so I'm supportive of it. But I'm supportive of it because I feel like we have no other choice at this point. And I feel like we've gotten to a point where we've had year after year after year after year of begging our legislature to do things, and now we're in a position where we have to fund this. And now even the state is funding this, right? Because municipalities sometimes aren't affording this. So I support it. I appreciate everything that you're doing there. I would echo Councilperson Lombardi's comments. I think it's important we have a contract here that says that, it's used for these purposes. It's not used for license plate. It's not used for facial recognition. It's for license plate reading only, not for traffic violations. So I think, the approval should be about the contract and only using it for that purpose. I do have a couple small questions. What happens? How do we safeguard, for example, Attorney Rick Ardone? Somebody asks, what time did Attorney Rick Ardone come home on such and such a date 2 weeks ago? In all seriousness, is there safeguards to ensure that, that there's not access to his license plate and to find out what time he came home? How does that work?
Well, that's the audit trail. So not everybody has access to this data. Only a certain amount of administrators have access to be able to pull the information, and then that data gets saved forever. So if Chief Palmeri runs my plate and he's looking to Mr. Shota says, where was Alex on Tuesday at 3 o'clock? And he looks for me. That'll be there forever. And then if Chief Daly looks, like, well, why are you pulling this plate? And you have to, every time you input a search, you have to either cross-reference it to a case file or another reason. So we have to put town manager looking for employee. And that would be public forever. Always be available.
Are you asking if we're looking for a plate? Or are you asking if a citizen FOIs.
Yeah,
where it was-
exactly. Like, how does any of that, how can if somebody hacked into the system, well, I guess you would see the audit trail, right? Any inquiry, you're going to see it regardless of where it comes
Every
from.
inquiry is saved forever,
Yeah, okay.
doesn't go away.
Well,
You mentioned that the information was readily available, but what kind of information? Because I have the same question. So if I decided I want to see how many times Paul went down Queen Street, in 30 days, he gets flagged every day he goes down Queen Street. Can I look and see that his car was on Queen Street every day for 30 days?
You could ask the police department to check, but that would be a humongous civil liberties violation. That would be public.
Exactly, but didn't you say earlier that everybody has access to that data?
No, they have access to see what was queried.
so
They
they
have
can
access to
see
see what the police department searched.
what requests
Yep.
are
You wanna
made
go back
on the
to
system. Gotcha.
trail? And we'll show you exactly, this is what they have access to right here.
So it says
Office-
a certain
so-
person,
User ID is the officer, but they mask it, so you don't know if it's a detective working on it. Search date and time is a timestamp. You've got the camera that it picked up, and then you can see they put the case file right next to it, or investigation, or something like that. That's what's available to the public, if you want to release
But
it.
every plate trip is not going to be
No,
available for people.
no, absolutely not.
well, I appreciate all the efforts. I'm supportive of it. I wish we didn't have to get here. I think it's a necessary evil at this point. I appreciate the fact that that you've done a lot of due diligence to protect the data. I think that's going to be people's biggest concerns. Is 22 enough, or do we need more?
It would take a lot more if you
Well,
look at the bunch.
So 22 is enough to make
I
an
don't like a
assessment.
gift
Yeah, 22 would be enough to make an assessment. We liked the number 26, but we had to go someplace. I mean,
Okay.
So, again, I would, if we could, if the council so inclines to support 22, when the chief finalizes deployment, if we see we're a couple short, maybe we can come back and get an appropriation or something like that. Because the camera can grab a couple lanes, so we just, like, we have their basic thing, but before we sit down and really, the chief really works with all the officers and his supervisors to drill down this network, we just want to make sure that we have the funding in place so we can go through with it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to just, Tom has, I guess, the last question, I think. Oh, you have a question
Yeah.
too, Jack? Okay, yeah, let's get going.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to, talk about what Councilman Chaplinsky just said, I think on page 2 of our memo here, it says, what is the ALPR technology? The fourth bullet point down, it says, used to solve crime. So I hope that, and I trust that the police department with legal counsel would be only focusing on requests from other police departments or active legal cases. Because we can't just, obviously, it's not just going to be a free-for-all on who has access to the data.
Right.
So I think that with the police commission and the legal counsel, there will be a firm policy in place, and then the audit trail is available to the public. So that is it's very important, what Councilman Chaplinsky brought up. It is very important for us as a town to document that as a policy, just to make sure everyone is very clear on that.
Very good. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I've heard a lot about the discussion of this, especially after Cheshire. Everybody started, I think, in their one of their community groups, they mentioned seeing the cameras. So my question is, out of the 22 cameras that would be out there, would they be visible, hidden? Like, how would that kind of work? And also, landowners, right? Let's say you put one up somewhere and somebody doesn't want it near their house or their business. What is the recourse or the corrective action at that point? Again, because if they feel that their business or hypothetically their residence is being targeted and they don't want it there, like, what are their rights, or how does that work? What does other municipalities have done to kind of work with the residents or landowners?
So the way Flock is designed is they pull all the permits and everything else, so it usually goes within either the town or the state's right of way, so that should be eliminated. If we had a problem with someone who didn't want a camera in the area, then we would work through that. Flock hasn't experienced that, but where they're putting the camera, it's a 12-foot nice black decorative pole. It's in the area where either the town or the state would own the property. They pull all the permits, they do all the installations, so it's all the specs.
Okay, perfect. Another question I have is, the pricing that we have reflects a 2-year with an option with a 2-year. Is there a better rate? Because I have truck cameras and we buy them, lease them, whatever it may be. And sometimes there's a better rate with a longer term because the equipment and all that is already out there and nobody wants their used equipment back after 2 years. Is there a savings if we did a 4-year off the rip versus a 2?
The 4-year is almost built in because it's technology and we lease. What Flock is saying is we have a 2-year contract. We'll guarantee you another 2 years with the same price, with the same technology. But these cameras are all technology-based and even similar to our radio system. After 4 years, the cameras have outlived their usefulness.
We
So-
don't have to use it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I guess after 2 years, though, we don't have to continue if we don't find it beneficial. correct?
Exactly. So what we would do is we would sign on for 2 years, and then in the second year, they would say, do you want to extend the same price? If we find it's adding no value to our community, we could back out and then we're done. We're not committed to 4 years.
So my question, though, is if we made a 4-year commitment, is there a financial savings?
No, because there's no prepayment. Like I asked them if we paid it off, like if we said, hey, we'll pay the whole 4 off in a year, they said, no, this is just, that's their pricing model.
I guess I just have one last question, and I believe that's it. No, 2, I apologize. The audit trail, you guys mentioned officers having that. Would there be a certain group, or every officer would have the capabilities of being able to search that?
Every officer has the ability to search, and then we would run an audit trail on a consistent basis to double check. But it's similar to like right now, they have collect access, which they're certified. So you cannot conduct a search inside Flock without having a reason and a case number. And so we'll define those parameters. And then we'll do, a member of the administration will be doing quality control, and they'll look at it to make sure there's all the investigations, there's all the case numbers, and go from there. So yes, any officer, because an officer can currently do a search now in NCIC, but it's all, every keystroke is logged. So if someone asks me, hey, did X plate ever get picked up in the last 30 days? If I go into that system, there's going to be a timestamp that can't go away. And I have to put a case number, I have to put a reason. And we like the case number and the reason, because if I just put investigation, what does that mean if I'm looking at something on day 29? So ours will be a case number and then investigation, or whatever the reason is.
And then I'm guessing the commission will, I guess, work on an audit trail of some sort in-house to be able to do the housekeeping work of those audits, correct?
The plan would be to brief the commission monthly on the usage and everything else. And then because I know it's a large outlay of money, like the chief said, we can provide the council with updates on the effectiveness and any, successes we have or any problems we're running into.
Okay. And then the last question is this FOIA-able, any of this?
I believe the license plates.
No, because it's a safety, there's a safety exception to it. It's safeguarded data. We've actually asked that question, do they get FOIA requests for license plates that go through? Nobody's gotten them. But if it did go through, if we did get one that was brand new, I'd go right to the FOIA commission and
So the
ask their
FOIA commission
guidance.
hasn't had this
They
presented?
haven't spoken to it yet. We've been told by Flock's legal counsel that it's not FOIA-able because it's a public safety exception.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we're going to close down discussion because our town manager is going to finish the discussion, so questions on securing, questions of money and all of that stuff, he's going to take care of.
If I could just make one other statement, just in response to something that was said about.
Go ahead, Chris.
I would just ask, it's a request. I brought this up because I saw the benefit it was doing to another community. And I would ask that we stop referring to legislation at the state level that we are not elected to represent the state of Connecticut. We are elected to represent the town of Southington, and this is a solution that could help within our own community. It's within our scope and our authority, so that's why it was brought up, rather than bring up legislation at the state level, which we're not privy to any of the hearings and public testimony and why they make decisions that they make. We're not privy to that. So I would just ask, I guess out of respect, that we keep this locally moving forward because they're local issues.
I understand your point, but
Thank you.
this is a council, so.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes.
could request for the gentlemen who came tonight, all of which obviously have important things to do, can we move to Section 8A?
Does anyone have a problem with that?
Nope.
Okay, so,
We just, I could just reference, obviously,
Yes.
you heard the presentation. The presentation from the council would be to move forward with the recommendation. If you wish 22, you move with recommendation subject to, obviously, the council reviewing the contract and funding through the manager's office and the chief of police. Remember, this is, the first year is funding that we're getting from wherever we get it from. After that, I'm putting it in the budget. It'll either be in the police budget or the IT budget. So it's not going to be like this every year. We're not going to be using, grants for that. Once we know it's a fixed cost of the town, I don't keep using grants for things like that. It becomes, because those grants will be used for dispatch and things like that. So this year, we'll do it this way, and then from here on out, I'll put it in the budget either under IT or police.
Can you outline again the plan for this year if we move forward with this?
Well, like I said before, my plan right now is twofold. Number one is, if we have available grant money through the grant we have for dispatch, which every quarter we get $19,000 from the state to do dispatch and to do police protection. Right now, it's not being used for any specific purpose. It's used to offset, the title is Offset Costs of Policing in Southington. So therefore, if I sit down with Mr. Bose and we figure out we'll offset that, there should be plenty of money there to handle this, because that's $80,000, approximately $80,000. That being said, if that's not available, then I would go to the Board of Finance and say to the Board of Finance, we're looking for X number of dollars. As you know, I have $600,000 in my contingency. Not that I like to use it in July, but this is actually something that is an unexpected cost, but it's something that we know we're going to keep for the long term. And for $80,000, as you know, last year I think I used a total of $80,000 in my whole contingency last year, so hopefully that will not be an issue. But I try to do the grants first. If I can't, then I go to contingency.
So, okay, so I think it's important, the stipulation on the contract. I mean, I'll motion to approve the license plate readers as presented, Mark, with the stipulation that it follows the contract that was presented.
Yeah.
And you obviously figure out the funding.
Well, I'll figure out the funding. The corporate council understands what you guys want and make sure that's in the contract.
And the contract was specifically mentions the uses that will be mentioned as Councilman Lombardi outlined earlier.
Right, and just for clarification, this is just an information packet that we received tonight, so I think we would use that stipulation as guidance for corporate counsel to add into the contract, which would have to be another vote, I assume, for the council?
Doesn't need to be another vote.
Okay.
You're contingent upon approval of the corporate council and funding through my office.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
I didn't make the motion.
oh, wait a minute,
No, we
wait.
didn't make a motion.
Right
Paul made it.
now,
I'm sorry.
no. Right
you
now,
just said
excuse me,
hypothetically.
may I take the floor?
I know, how long do you make?
Right, excuse me. Right now, we are on old business, item A. So is the request of the town manager to move that motion at this time?
Yeah,
My
that's what we
request
did.
is to move it, which you just did. Now I
Yep.
think Paul made a motion to approve that particular item.
Is that correct,
Yeah, exactly,
Paul?
because the town
Yeah,
manager
no, I
already
just wanted
requested
to
that we
make
go
sure
to
that we were
8A,
very-
so he's
very
looking for the
clear.
motion.
I'll
And would
second
you
the
second
motion,
that?
yes.
Yeah, of course. So, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Chaplinsky,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Triano.
Yes, that motion carries, and it is off our agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for moving that for us.
Thank
please.
you, that's fine. We want to go back right now to councilperson's communication. Thank you, guys, very, very much. We
Before
appreciate your work.
before he leaves, can I make one?
Yes, go ahead, wait just a second, please.
Deputy Chief, I had the pleasure of attending. The police department had a quasi-retirement celebration for him a couple weeks ago. They had some cake. The chief was there. The chairman of the police commission was there. So I want to congratulate you and thank you for your years of service. It was a pleasure to be there in attendance that day. And I'm very pleased, obviously, we all saw firsthand tonight, the work continues, and we have him for another year. So can't thank you enough for all you've done. Thank you.
Very good. Councilperson's communication, anybody have anything? Paul?
Madam Chair, just a request to the town manager, Mark, if it's possible, could you follow up with the Board of Ed on the noise abatement from the HVAC unit at JFK? That's something I think we had in one of our budget items.
It was a budget reallocation number. that's
And,
correct.
yeah, I think
check with
that's,
Mr. Romano
it's a
tomorrow.
good time of the year to follow up since it's being used. We obviously want to see that
That
come to a
neighborhood is
resolution.
Suffered long enough. Anybody else? Yes, Chris?
First of all, just a huge thanks. Paul, I don't know if you've actually seen it yet, but the water department, huge thanks. The water department added water to the property, the town property next door to DePaulo.
Yeah.
We remember the council approved the master plan for the farmland
Yes.
on that site, so that was part of our plan. And they just did the end of last week, so just a huge thanks to the water department for getting that installed for us, and it's very beneficial. And just the other thing, I had the pleasure with Councilwoman DePaulo of attending the legislative end-of-session report from Representative Poulos. It was, and the majority leader also attended, so it was really great to hear some of what's being done at Hartford. It really drills back down to affect us locally. So every now and then, our different representatives have sessions like this, so I'd encourage residents to attend if they have that opportunity, and just thanks to Representative Poulos for sharing what's being done for Southington and Hartford.
Thank you. Anybody else? Val, do you have something?
I have
Go
a
ahead.
couple things. So I was able to help serve dinner at Bread for Life Wednesday, June 28th. Main Street Community Foundation made another grant through the Barnes Trust for $68,000, and that grant allows Bread for Life to do, to support the Wednesday night meal.
Dinner.
Secure clients. So, just a thank you to Main Street, obviously the Barnes Trust, what it provides in our town. And I came across, I just wanted to throw this out and just ask, there are a couple of programs for elderly disabled tax relief. And I didn't know, I don't know, maybe Kathy, if these are on our website. One is the elderly disabled, and then in parentheses, it says circuit breaker tax relief program. So it's through the forms would go through the assessor's office.
That's correct.
So Mark, I don't know if you're aware of it.
I'm sure it's on the assessor's page, but I don't think it's on
I
our
don't
main
think
page.
it's on the main page.
I mean, if it's on the assessor's page, that's good too. And then there's another one, and that program for the elderly disabled, the tax relief, that has an application process of February 1 to May 15th. So that's, for this year, that's
It's already been
through.
done.
But at least so people can be aware of it ahead of time for next year. But then there's also a renter's rebate for elderly disabled renters, and that goes April 1 to October 1st with an extension on, for certain circumstances, to November 15th of 2023. Now, that could be something that Janet Mellon may have, she may be aware of, because that might run through social services, but it also says it can run through the assessor's office. So that's called
The renters.
renter's rebate for elderly disabled renters tax relief program. So, just two really good programs for residents to be aware of.
Great. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on. A report of special committees. We have only one, the Library Building Committee. Jim?
Yes, Madam Chair, I actually missed the last meeting, but at that meeting, it was discussed, basically, they reviewed all the bids and contracts that were, bids and proposals that were sent in. There were some that were disqualified. There were some that were omitted. At the end of the night, it was decided that we are close enough to the budget that we're going to move forward. We have another special meeting this week, Wednesday, at the library at 6 o'clock to discuss all that. And contracts will be awarded on the 12th of July, and the fence will go up on the 13th, and we expect that by the end of the month, they'll have a shovel in the ground there.
Thank you very much. Any other committees that were not listed that someone would like to speak on?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Jay Baker on the Procurement Exploratory Committee. He's done a phenomenal job at setting up a ton of Zoom presentations. I haven't been able to make all of them, but there had to be, I don't know, like 7, 8 of them already.
Half of myself.
Yeah,
yes, I can make
so
all music.
he's been doing a phenomenal job making sure that he reaches out to every procurement software that's out there. Some aren't geared towards municipalities, some are, but he's doing a very thorough job, and it's
It's exactly what we were hoping.
Yes, exactly. So
Wonderful,
it's been a great process, and we actually have another Zoom tomorrow, and then we have a meeting tomorrow as well. So it shall be interesting to see all the data compiled back. So
Excellent.
just wanted to, recognize him for all the great efforts and everybody that's been able to attend.
Thank
So,
you, Jack. Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
wonderful. Thank you. Let's move on to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You've already acted on A. I'll discuss B, which is battery storage. Thank you to Chairman Dietzick and Vice Chair DiPaolo of the Sewer Committee. They had the presentation first. You had a presentation after that. It was unanimously recommended by the Sewer Committee. My staff is also recommending it to you. This is a situation where the town doesn't pay money. It receives $25,000. The structure would be placed at Water Pollution Control. We already have a hydrogen fuel cell there, so this would be complementary to the greenness of Southington and adding to that part of it. So based upon the recommendation by both the committee and my staff, as well as the presentation, we're recommending that it get awarded to RWE Clean Energy, and the sum of $25,000 is paid on an annual basis to the town of Southington, not the sewer fund, the town of Southington. Questions?
Anybody? Yes, Chris?
Just to follow up, and I know, Mark, we spoke about this on the phone, but just to share publicly, the location of this will be not in the park itself, but in the,
It's on proper property of Water Pollution Control. It's not in the town park.
okay. And I think that's important, so I just wanted to share that.
Correct. And I should reference to say that the Board of Education has not made a decision on the other aspect of it. So speaking with both Val and Bill, we decided to move forward with the WPC part of it. The Board of Ed has whole different issues that we don't have for this, so I'm recommending we move forward. Any other questions on that?
Hearing none?
Next item is for the construction engineering inspection for the Farmington Canal Heritage, which we call the Rails to Trails. As you know, through the state, we got the recommendation and we got the money for the trail. This is, as you know, we call it Section 4A. 4B, as you know, is being held up because we have some issues with rights-of-way. That being said, staff recommends, and I know this went through, I believe it went through Public Works, correct, Mike? At least two.
It did. Well,
okay.
we didn't have a meeting, but Annette sent it to us.
Okay, and you reviewed it,
We all-
okay.
Yeah, polled us all.
Okay, very good.
There was no detractions.
So my staff in Public Works, through a online poll, recommends BL Companies for the sum of $274,713.03. And remember, this is paid from the federal 80% and from the state 20%. Questions?
Very good. Anybody have any
Mark,
questions?
just quickly, so once we approve this, you sign a contract with those changes?
That's correct. I already signed the.
They can start?
They
You
can start.
signed
Yeah,
it.
I signed, no, not this contract. I signed the other contract, which
With
you
the-
approved of 2 meetings ago, I
That's what I
believe.
thought.
Did we do the trail first and then we did Planceville? Yes, the trail
Yes.
was first, then Planceville. So 2 meetings ago, we did the trail. I signed that contract. Now we need someone to administer that, and that's what this company did.
And then they can start work as soon as,
Yesterday would not be too soon for me.
that's great.
Very good. Thank you, Mark.
The next item I have is very similar. This is also for construction engineering inspection. This is for Plantsville Center, which you did approve at your last meeting. The recommendation is SLR International Corporation, which once again was pulled through the Public Works Committee. That is paid for 100% by state funding under the LoCIP program. You approved the project, and now the construction management is for the sum of $300,274.86. Happy to answer any questions on that. And once again, that starting yesterday would have been too soon on that project, too.
Very good. Any questions on that matter?
Madam Chair, we do not have executive session tonight, so hopefully it will be a relatively brief meeting after this.
Well, thank you very much. Town Attorney's report.
Yes, mine is very brief, Madam Chair. As you may recall, last month I introduced and discussed a proposed ordinance as it relates to affordable housing. At the time, our esteemed corporate counsel was away fulfilling his military obligation. I've had 2 conversations with them since then. In particular, Councilwoman DiPaolo had some more specific concerns. I think everyone expressed some, but as far as filling in the details or the gaps that seem to be missing or that some thought were, I know that he is working on that and comparing and contrasting with others.
Very good, and we'll have a report soon,
My
soon,
understanding is next month,
next one. Very good. Okay.
but he'd be the right person to ask for that.
Yeah, well, he ran out. So we'll take your word for it. Okay, very good, thank you. Is that all you have?
That is,
Attorney
yes.
Mark, got you, thank you. Public communication right now, we open up the mic that doesn't work for anybody in the public that might like to address the council. Anything? Going once, going twice, and we'll close public communication. Thank you, everybody. Let's move on for old business. We already did item A, so we're going on to item B. Action on battery storage, WPC. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve. Oh, sorry, Val, go ahead.
That was a motion.
Oh,
Sorry, Val.
That's all right.
Stole your thunder. You take it.
Val, would you like to make a
So
motion?
I would like to make a motion that we award the, is our RWE for the battery storage project as presented.
I will second, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mike, for seconding that. All those in favor signify by saying,
Discussion.
oh, I'm sorry, is there any discussion
And
on
just
that?
confirming,
Okay.
that's 25,000 in revenue coming back to the town of Southington.
That's
25,000 coming into revenue for the Southern.
Town of Southington, correct.
Exactly. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Let's take the roll because it has to do with money.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Chaplinsky,
Yes.
Del Santo.
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Triano.
Yes. Item C, action on the construction administration of the trail project.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the construction and engineering and inspection contract to BL Companies, Inc. in the amount of $274,713.03.
And we have a second. Any discussion on this? I think
Just to clarify, what was the breakdown of the funding reimbursement, state, federal?
80% federal, 20% state.
Okay, thank you.
Very
It's,
good.
it's in the memo if you want to review it.
Okay, very good. Any discussion on this any further? I think it's time for a vote. Why don't you just call the roll, please, Kathy?
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes.
Del Santo.
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Triano.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Item D, action on the construction of administration Plansville project.
Make a motion to move forward as presented by the town manager?
Second.
Okay, I believe both Paul and Val spoke at the same time, so we'll toss it up for the second.
We give it to Val.
And, oh, there you go. We got Val down for the second. Any discussion? I can't say that, I can't wait for it
roll.
to start. Let's go, yeah. We're ready to roll. So could you please call the roll, please?
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Chaplinsky,
Yes.
Del Santo.
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Triano.
Yes, thank you, everybody. We're moving on to new business for our tax refunds.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the tax refunds that are presented in our packet.
I hear a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The tax refunds passed unanimously. I need one last motion,
Motion to
please.
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And the room grew silent. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Take care. We'll see you.